unlawful to arrest, arraign protesters, but pamper terrorists. PDP. From first reaction, of course, PDP is saying the right thing, but is this kind of damage control, to make themselves look better, sway public opinion because they're opposition parties in government and they're doing an absolutely bad job? They are right, fine, but don't think that we're going to get into presidency 2023 or APC would. We don't want any of them. And they better not even try to decamp or defect because we will fish them out if there's one Nigeria. The PDP has described the arrest and humiliation and trial of the #Occupy Lekki Tollgate protesters on Saturday as a sad reminder of what Nigerians went through in the hands of military dictators. The Lagos State Chairman of PDP, Adedeji Doherty, reacted to the occurrence in a release on Sunday titled #Occupy Lekki. Lagos PDP slams Sanwo-Olu over arrest, humiliation of protesters, demands discontinuation of their trial. The chairman said it is a shameful irony that a government that is pampering terrorists send policemen armed to the teeth against civilians who only express their displeasure over a government's decision. Lagosians will never believe that a time will come in a state where citizens' rights to peacefully protest will be muscled by a supposed democratic government. Again, absolutely factual, right? But the source where this information is coming from is the bigger problem, because when you were in government there was never any significant growth in terms of Nigeria's economy or anything. The fact is, the only difference is that because when PDP was ruling, we were still asking for the bare minimum. The bare minimum was given to us at a little pinch. The fact is, with the APC currently in government, things have just taken a turn for the absolute worst. And so it then begs Nigerians to appreciate the bare minimum that we had. Guys, we need to understand the standards here are too low. We should not even be competing or reminiscing of the old times, because the old times too were bad. They've just gotten even worse, and that is just the difference. The fact is, we want people fresh, because again, this already shows the political climate of 2023. If this is the vibe, because again, people would not allow PDP or APC go back into government, first of all, and second of all, that's on the assumption that one Nigeria is actually a majority sort of decision that people are like, yes, we want one Nigeria, because that seems very unlikely at the moment. It is now clear that the matters of APC government of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is the billions of naira generated at the Lekki Tollgate and not the welfare of the people. So does that make you different from them? You guys are all working together to destroy this country anyway, so I don't understand why you're criticizing. You see, this divisive thing where they want you to support this party, and then it literally absolves them of all the blame, absolves them of their past mistakes and the present, and then we lose focus on what the actual point is. We want to end this corruption. All of them need to be sacked. That's just what it is. He also demanded explanation on whether or not it was part of the mandate of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry and Restitution to investigate cases of police brutality in the state, to order the commencement of operations at the toll plaza. It's absolutely embarrassing. It has always been embarrassing. But again, are we surprised? When PDP or APC, they're talking, we don't need you guys. PDP, we can just push them to the side, okay? All they can do is talk. But for them to think that it's a likelihood that they might get back into, it's not going to work. Absolutely not. A comment here says the Fulanis had already declared and fighting civil war in Nigeria, but unfortunately the rest of us are complaining while the war rages. Do our leaders have shame? Shame. They don't have it. It's embarrassing, but again, I think we have now is the time for Nigerians to decide, what do we want? Because if we're planning for justice, if we're planning for accountability, will that happen? Let's be realistic. And after that, what happens? to restructure the country? Where do we start from? Are we starting from the beginning? Because again, the fact is, the Yorubas and the Igbos compromised. They compromised independence just because, no, they compromised their real dreams of independence just because they wanted to be independent from the British rule. So again, the condition that they had to be independent was that the Fulani, the Hausa people, would have majority power in the power table. And so because of their desperation to just be out of the shadows of colonization of the British, they actually budged. They compromised. They sold themselves too short, and that's the mistake that was made. But then again, the desperation of just not being in the hands of the British. But then again, even at that, with the Hausas being in the power table, it was basically indirect rule of the British through them. So the British didn't have to make their presence known. They did that through the Fulanis, and that was basically it. And so obviously we can see how that power has been steering their ideology of this superiority, that they are the ones that are meant to rule or whatever, which does not make sense. And the fact is, if we're to separate, of course, us being together is more powerful than us separating. But again, our ideologies are too different. We have got to be realistic. The only option has to be that Nigeria will disintegrate. And it doesn't necessarily mean that is a bad thing. It doesn't, except the people will still want to be harsh with each other after. But then again, it's just bad because Nigeria has gone into a point of corruption. Even we're not even talking at the top, at the top tables. We're talking even in our basic daily activities. The standards are so low. We've lost every form of, application of any system. So again, we've got to be realistic about this. And then the distractions, this is basically a distraction. PDP making their comments is a distraction because again, they want to brew in another conversation of PDP against APC when there are so many other parties, which is a whole other conversation for another day. But again, this is to highlight. We're not going to even give the attention to this kind of news because it is a tactic to implore division and to strategically basically drift away from what the action is. Again, we've got to be realistic. If we do want one Nigeria, I think we've got to, remove sentiment and be like, okay, what do we have to do? But again, if we don't want one Nigeria, it's not a bad thing. It might be the best that we just disintegrate, because at the end of the day, we were not meant to be together. We were a business deal that was just for the interest of some political elites. That's just what it is. Put what you think about this in the comment section below. What do you think about PDP putting their 2 cents on the whole situation? Do you think it's a propaganda? Do you think it's damage control? What are they trying to do? Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.